wanted to make more of these versus videos lately, since it's so easy. And I've been thinking of a SpongeBob episode that is really terrible, and an episode of Uncle Grandpa to compete with it. Now as a whole, I actually do like Uncle Grandpa for its simplicity and over-the-top goofiness. So can I actually manage to take a similar plot from SpongeBob and do it better, or is it actually worse off? Well, let's find out. Smoothe Jazz and Bikini Bomb starts off with Squidward in a pleasant mood as he is about to go to a Kelpie G concert that night. SpongeBob is curious to see his ticket as Squidward subverts the cliche of having SpongeBob unintentionally ruin his ticket by shoving it into Patrick's mouth in the process.
You're probably not gonna get that back before showtime.
To be fair, that was kind of funny. Although Squidward's not out of luck since there is a radio contest where you can win 2 tickets and backstage passes. Squidward tries numerous times to contact the station to win the tickets, but with no luck, as SpongeBob succeeds on his first try and ends up taking Squidward with him. Uncle Grandpa of the movie starts off with Uncle Grandpa and Pizza Steve bored out of their minds, as Mr. Gus goes off to see a documentary at the movie theater, to which Uncle Grandpa and Pizza Steve decide to tag along. They try to go see Explosion Man, but end up going to the documentary with Mr. Gus since it's sold out.
Hey, Mr. Gus! Explosion Man was sold out, so we got tickets to see this one with you!
Yeah, bro. Hope it's not a total stinker.
With Squidward, he is only mildly inconvenienced by SpongeBob here and there, but all of a sudden Patrick comes out of nowhere to cause Squidward misery. He does so by eating his backstage pass and also SpongeBob's when he tries to give it to Squidward, and he even crashes the stage and asks for a meal like as if he was at a restaurant. Squidward and SpongeBob try to catch up to Patrick after he ends up crowd surfing to get the backstage passes. Really? You really want those passes back? You may need to wait a few hours if you get my drift. When Squidward and SpongeBob are instructed to go back to the seats, they find that it's being taken by some other fish. When Squidward complains about it, they both end up getting thrown out of the place, only to be able to sneak into the backstage area after Patrick happened to be leaving. Don't ask me how he managed to get in without a backstage pass. I don't want to know. As for Mr. Gus, he is constantly bugged by Uncle Grandpa and Pizza Steve's activities throughout the movie, including annoying phone texts, loud talking, and spilling food all over Mr. Gus in the process. Mr. Gus finally has enough as he yells at them to go away. But it doesn't take long before the literally in the movie mega explosions as Mr. Gus does his best to get rid of them, with hilarious results. As for Squidward, the episode literally has the poor guy pretty much begged to be able to see Kelpie G. He and SpongeBob end up playing some music as Kelpie G gets intrigued not by Squidward's performance but SpongeBob's and wants him to be in that night's show. To be fair, SpongeBob in this episode didn't really cause any harm to Squidward, it just happens to be the universe that's against him here. The episode ends with Kelpie G and SpongeBob playing as Squidward tries to intervene, but is hauled away by security. To be fair, that was a pretty dumb move on Squidward's part.
But I love you, Zisha!
Mr. Gus's story ends with him realizing that the only way to enjoy his movie and prevent any more explosions is to cause even more explosions. He tricks Uncle Grandpa and Pizza Steve as he pretty much blows up most of the theater in the process, giving them both the thrill of their lives and finally allowing Mr. Gus to enjoy his film. SpongeBob's plot seems too mean-spirited towards Squidward since all he wanted to do was see the show. I mean, at the beginning of the episode, he was happy at work for crying out loud. In all fairness, SpongeBob is tolerable in this episode for the most part, and he does try his best to help Squidward in his efforts, to which is ruined by Patrick. It doesn't help to mention that not only does he get rejected by his idol, he literally gets shoved out of the way by him. That's gotta be depressing. In Uncle Grandpa, Mr. Gus is understandably annoyed at his friend's actions and actually ends up succeeding at the end. To be honest, when Mr. Gus yelled at whoever wasn't watching the movie to get out, I honestly expected the guy Uncle Grandpa mentioned earlier who was asleep to get upset at Mr. Gus yelling and get him kicked out like they would have done in SpongeBob. Or to a lesser extent, that episode of The Simpsons where Homer and Larry Burns, Mr. Burns' son, were picking on Mole Man before he called the police on them. I also love how the guy in the projector cabin is so laid back about the majority of the theater being blown up, and has no problem in resuming the movie for Mr. Gus. And, I'm pretty sure you're asking this, doesn't it seem a bit mean with Mr. Gus having a bit of an evil chuckle at Uncle Grandpa and Pizza Steve at the end? No. After all the shit they put in Mr. Gus throughout the episode, it's definitely more than cathartic to see him win so bluntly in the end. As a whole, I can really see why people dislike Uncle Grandpa, but to be honest, at times it feels more like early SpongeBob for me. It's more like a comfort cartoon for me, to be honest, because, like, if I were to have, like, a bad day or if I'm upset in general, I usually watch a few episodes and I feel better about myself. For me, it's a silly, irrelevant, guilty pleasure show, and I'm pretty sure that the rest of the internet will be completely fine about my opinions about this show. This generation.